Welcome back, Miami Dolphins. A couple things that we need to talk about today. I am very close to the camera, so I'm going to move this back. All right. A little too close there. There's a couple things we need to talk about real quick with this team. Obviously, everybody has heard that changes are probably coming very soon. Here's the thing. I think at this point in the unless barring some miracle happens, praise God, it, we're probably not going to continue down this path. And there's a certain thing that maybe we need to see is people are saying that Stephen Ross is very patient with Mike McDaniel. We're wondering why, why is he so patient with this coach that has been pretty much abysmal for the past 2 years? And I can kind of see a little bit to it. Now, me personally, I would like the Rams defense coordinator, Chris Shula. I think he's great. I think there's a couple coaches out there. John Gruden is another option, but one of the things that I can see with Mike McDaniel, the only way that I can see, I truly think that Quinn Ewers is probably going to, barring, I don't know, something like Tua just starts lighting it up, which the reason why I think Tua is not, I think Tua is too injured right now. I think the problem with Tua, a lot of people are, speculating certain things, but for the most part, I just think Tua, he had the hip thing, last year. I don't think he fully has healed from that, and then he has something with his hand earlier in the year, and I just think he hasn't fully recovered from any of the things that, have happened. That's why I think he's playing so garbage this year, because we've seen Tua for like 5 years. He doesn't play like this. Like, this is a completely different Tua. And I think the reason behind that is because he's playing completely injured. And, it's unfortunate. Kind of came at the wrong time, but, it is what it is. But I think at this point, what Stephen Ross wants to do, most likely, is he wants to get a high draft pick. I don't think that, he's in love with Mike McDaniel. I don't think that he wants to keep Mike McDaniel, but I think he thinks that at this point, we're not going anywhere. He's seen enough and we're going to move forward, but we need another try at this quarterback thing. And I think Tua needs a different change of scenery, if I could be honest. I think, he's, in my personal opinion, I think Tua is going to go to a different team like the Rams or the 49ers or one of those other teams. And, maybe not the 49ers because they have Brock Purdy and they're pretty much the same person. But I think if I can have a full disclosure, I'm pretty sure, Sean McVay is looking at Tua right now. And, Matthew Stafford's getting up there in age. I'm pretty sure it's going to be another Baker Mayfield type of thing where you're going to send Tua over to the Rams. And Sean McVay is going to put an offensive line in front of him, and he's going to do the same thing he was doing, with the Dolphins, except they're going to put a better team around him. It's probably going to be the same thing like Sam Darnold had. Crap teams end up getting, top draft picks, which a lot of the time that's why you see with these quarterbacks that they end up going to these places, sucking it, and they go somewhere else, and they, completely change the whole entire environment because they're gotten at a point when the team is already built versus being on a bad team and trying to change the team. Only few players can do that. And I think I'm going on a tangent, but we're gonna go down this route. Only few players can actually change a team like a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes. Only few players can do that, and that's why, again, a lot of these teams, it comes down to coaching and it comes down to actually building a team right. Like we talk about Justin Herbert. We have this argument all the time, but the reality of the situation is he's performing better with Jim Harbaugh because Jim Harbaugh built a team around him. Now he's got a lot of injuries, and what do you know? He's throwing interceptions too. But he, it's a different style of quarterback. And the thing is it's much more the coaching, building a team, than a person making the team. Because for all intents and purposes, a lot of these guys they aren't like a Josh Allen or one of those players. Now, you would have never seen this coming out of the draft. This is, hindsight is 20/20. But with Tua right now, I think there have just been so many freaking injuries to this kid that he just can't perform at the level that he wants to. And personally, what I think is he needs to go to another team and take a second and, be able to rehab all of these injuries. Because most likely what you're going to see is, he's probably will progress over the year as the injuries start to heal up. But right now, I don't think he can throw as far as he wants to because of the hand, and I don't think he has that same launch because of the hip. So, and I think there's been too much on this plate. So, unfortunately, what I do think is going to happen is that they possibly will give Quinn Ewers a try just to see what you have in him. Because again, most likely 99% chance he's not going to light it up, and he's probably not going to be great. I mean, I'm going to be fully honest with you. I don't think Quinn Ewers is a phenomenal quarterback. I think he's okay, and I think maybe he can do certain things, but I think you gotta give it a shot. And what I'm hearing is that there will be changes, but not as drastic as you guys want it to be, because we want to get a high draft pick. It's going to be, certain changes, but I don't think we need to change a whole bunch of stuff. And I think we saw a couple things. Obviously the offense is, a lot of bad choices. A lot of bad choices with the Darren Waller and all that. It's just unfortunate that he keeps getting injured, but the defense, they played better, which it goes back and forth, but there's some things to take positively from this. So the changes are probably going to be, quarterback, and most likely you might do this just to get a high draft pick. Keep the regime the same, change the quarterback, and try and, get Fernando Mendoza. I would personally love it. I'm on a quick tangent here. Is Fernando Mendoza is I think he's legit. The Dante Moore guy, I know a lot of people talk about him. He's good too. I wouldn't be disappointed with either one of them, but personally I like Mendoza. Maybe it's because I'm Cuban, so like, you want a Cuban quarterback, that would be pretty cool. But I think the changes that are coming probably will be with Tua, just because I think the injuries have stacked up so much right now that he just, it's unfortunate, but I just don't think he can perform the way that he wants to perform, and it's affecting everything. The other change that I think is going to happen is this offense is going to get simplified. I think a lot of the stuff that we're running right now, it's so overcomplicated, and the problem is, and this is something that I think, maybe he should have done this a long time ago as a coach. It's so complicated that you have all these people coming in because you have all these injuries, and again, not only does Tua have to throw the ball, but he has to make sure everybody lines up correctly, which is crazy to me. And this is, again, personally why I don't like Mike McDaniel. I just don't think he's a good head coach. I think he's one of those guys that's like a little nerdy dude that, creates all these things, but when it comes to actually putting it out there, it doesn't come together properly. And I don't think he has the ability to adapt. I think he keeps trying to run the same things that he wants to do, and he has no ability to adapt. So I think the changes to the offense will be drastic, because we're probably going to start Quinn Ewers sometime in the future to see what we have in it, because I just don't think that Tua can perform the way that he wants to perform until these injuries heal. It sucks. And again, we went into this season, we all know how Tua has performed before. We all know that, if you give him a decent amount of time, offensive line, and some weapons, he'll win against the teams that he needs to win against. It's just this year they literally stripped him of everything, which is crazy to me. They stripped him of every single thing. So that's what I'm kind of detectiving in this scenario right now, is that most likely we're going to start moving off of Tua pretty soon. And like I said, I think Tua needs a change of scenery. I think he needs a different coach. I think he needs to have a better team and not so much pressure on him to do these certain things, because he's not a Josh Allen. He's just a guy that if you put him in there, he will throw for whatever amount of yards, but he's not one of those guys. So I think he needs a change of scenery, and I think that's where we're going to have the split right now. If he doesn't perform right against Atlanta, I think we'll start moving towards the Quinn Ewers time, simplifying the offense and just allowing us to see what we have in him before, we get the first or second overall pick. Let me know down in the comments down below what you guys think. If you guys think that I'm tripping right now, but I think they're slowly trying to move away from Tua, and I think at this point the injuries have caught up to him, and I think he just needs He just needs a fresh start. He needs somewhere else that doesn't put so much pressure on him. You know what I'm saying? So, as always, guys, fins up, baby. Praise God, love God. He's great all the time. Love you all. Peace.